Hi everyone and welcome to TOOP TV. Today we've got a special event. We've got the auction of a very large property and you'll have to stay tuned to see what the outcome was. Also we go to Hope Forest, a magnificent property there for those looking for lifestyle, and you'll love that property. For those of you looking to renovate rather than move, we've got some tips and some ideas about renovating your property. And don't forget, we're live and interactive, so get the calls going, send the emails in, and we'll answer those questions at the end of the show. Well, spring is finally here. It's the 1st of September, and although it's a bit rainy and wet out there today, it has been great last weekend to see some sunny days, and we're pumped. And the market, we are so busy, it's incredible. Now later in the show we talk to Tim Lawless. He's from RP Data and he's the top man there, and it's going to be a very interesting conversation, so stay tuned for that. But now let's go to the inside story and have a look at the hold periods and how long it takes to sell a house.
It's not a factor commonly used to analyse property, but hold periods are proving to be a useful tool to judge real estate activity around Australia. RP Data's Cameron Cusher describes hold periods as a calculation which measures the time period between sales expressed in years. According to the latest Property Pulse report, in South Australia, the suburb with the longest average hold period was Collinswood, while Mawson Lakes proved to have the shortest. Adelaide homeowners have good reason to sell considering how affordable property prices are compared to other states, but instead most prefer to just stay put.
Definitely a long-term sort of person. I don't know, I'm not a big fan of moving, so I like to, when I buy a house, I like to live in it rather than, I'm not a real renovator or anything like that, so when I buy a house, I want to live in it.
Personally myself, we buy a house and we stay in it for long term. I just like to be settled, and yes, not really interested in making money out of property in that way.
I think for many people it's the only way to keep stepping up the ladder is to buy and sell, make a capital profit and then move on to the next property that might be a little bit better.
My preference would be to hold main residence long term, mainly for the tax aspect of capitalising on main residence being capital gains tax free. Having said that, we haven't taken that approach, so we've bought and sold, but now that we've bought a property, we intend to stay in that property long term.
If you're a keen investor, having a thorough understanding of hold periods in different suburbs can give you the competitive edge when looking to target new business.
And it's a great report from RP Data. In fact, we've got it on our blog on insidestory.toop.com.au. So if you're wanting to have a look at the full report, go there and have a look. It's really interesting reading. And we'll have a little bit more on that a bit later. But in the meantime, we've got our guest here today, Justin Hazel. He's the property and development consultant with what everyone knows, the big players around here, which is Connor Holmes. Now, welcome, Justin.
Thanks very much, Toopy. Good to be here.
Welcome back on the show.
Thank you.
Looking very relaxed.
Yeah, feeling good.
Quick snapshot about you, just so the people listening can have a bit of an understanding what you do.
Sure, okay. Well, our firm is a fairly large property development consulting planning firm. We act for a lot of large land developers. We also undertake a lot of retirement development on behalf of clients, master planning at new urban communities, a lot of stuff for the government, all that kind of stuff.
So Justin, and I hate to put you on the spot, but I'm going to. Today's paper, Mount Barker residents and the development out there, have you had any involvement personally in that?
Yeah, no, personally I haven't had any involvement in that at all. From reading the articles, it's fairly clear that some of the local residents up at Mount Barker are a bit opposed to what's being proposed. Obviously, we need further urban land development in order to accommodate my kids, your kids, our kids' kids in housing over the next 20, 30 years. And obviously the government's identified a whole lot of land around the country, around the state, Mount Barker being one of those areas which has been identified for growth. But there's also a whole lot of other land out south and out north which has also been identified. And those residents are opposed to it. Probably they don't want it to happen in their backyard, but unfortunately there's just too much pressure on land within the state, so it's got to happen somewhere, and I'd suggest that that's probably going to be an area where some of it will occur.
We can talk about some positives involved with high density and that as well in a minute, but let's go back one step to the 30-year plan. When that was first announced, we had you on and we talked about that. What's the update? How are they going? How's it tracking?
Oh look, I think the government's absolutely committed to ensuring that there is more residential land supply brought onto the market. So that means that they're going through extensive consultation with communities, including those like Mount Barker, aimed at getting plans in place to enable the land to be brought to the market. They're also rolling out a whole lot of strategies in relation to transit-oriented development, which are focused around high-density living in growth corridors, so it's infill development as opposed to this fringe development, which is more like what's proposed for Mount Barker. But they're moving ahead in leaps and bounds.
There's some really obvious standout infill or refurbishment of existing developments, and that is the Clipsal site. Do you have a bit of an update on the Clipsal site?
Yeah, look, I've got a bit of knowledge about that. I mean, obviously the government grabbed the bull by the horns and acquired that site with the objective of rolling out a massive development over the entire site. I understand that the Land Management Corporation is handling it on behalf of the state, so on behalf of us, and they're pretty advanced in terms of master planning. And my take on it is that there's going to be a whole variety of accommodation types that'll be rolled out under that project, varying from 3-storey medium density townhouse type development to true high-rise multi-storey. Right. And there's also going to be some retail aspects to it, as well as some commercial development on the main road frontages.
Now, I assume that everyone knows where the Clipsal site is because it's such an iconic site. But as you head down to the entertainment centre on the right-hand side at Bowden there, it is Bowden, isn't it?
Yeah, Bowden.
Bowden. It's a big site where the Clipsal business was, and that links us then through to the west and it's right near the hospital. So that's going to be a pretty key area, isn't it, right there?
Yeah, well, and there's already some quite a bit of infrastructure that's been put in place to accommodate proposed growth. The tram's already been extended from North Terrace down to the entertainment centre, which is very close to the Clipsal site. That tram is proposed to then be further extended west towards Semaphore and Port Adelaide and those kind of areas. So that whole region down there is just one big growth corridor waiting to happen.
Now, we talk of TODs, the transit lines. That definitely impacts on pricing and desirability. Do you think that's 20 years away or how long?
Oh no, the TOD strategy is in place now. So there is already a number of TODs that have been identified in the 30-year plan. It's just a question of waiting for the market to recognise and capitalise on the opportunities that have been created by those TOD sites. So it's just a timing thing, but they will eventuate in time.
Justin will come back with some more information in a minute, but in the meantime, let's go and have a look at the CEO of Deloitte Digital, Peter Williams. He's a really interesting guy, and this is a fun segment, but it has a very serious message. So let's go and have a look. And by the way, for those that do like what they're seeing here, we have a new segment on Friday we'll talk about later, but in the meantime, have a look at this.